A family stood on the platform at Arlesburg Bridge Street, feeling like giants compared to the tiny setup of the station. They spent little time reading the railway's brochure when a fast but faint puffing was heard drawing nearer. From under the miniature bridge puffed a miniature train. At the front of the miniature train was a miniature engine, and behind it trailed a full but heavy set of miniature passenger coaches.
Dad, look, it's James the Red Engine! Wait, why is he so small?
Because my name is Mike, not James. Why does everyone get us mixed up? Can they not read my nameplates? I may be 10 times smaller than James the Red Engine, but I'm 10 times better.
Mike scoffed as the family struggled to find empty seats, then headed off for the last station. Once there, he idled onto the turntable.
You're getting heavier by the day.
And you must be getting older by the day.
Then, at last, the small engine shifted over to the water stand for a refill. His tender tank was only half full when the small controller came running up looking frantic.
Mike, we've got an unexpected guest boarding for your next train. Our landlord.
Landlord, sir?
A landlord is someone who rents out their land to someone in return for a monthly payment. But if he thinks the land isn't being used properly, he can kick out whoever's renting it at a moment's notice. He's just turned up at the booking office, and I've been occupied giving him a tour. He's from America, on a working holiday, so he says. I need you to be on your best behaviour, okay? And pass the word to the others if you have the chance to.
At that moment, the landlord shouted over, and the small controller cowered away to see what he wanted. Mike had never seen him act in such a way, and he eavesdropped in as he toured him around the works.
This is where most of our machinery is kept. I'm afraid you've caught us at a bad time, sir. We've been very busy completing orders from contractors elsewhere recently.
I see. Desperate for the money, are you?
Well, our main source of income comes from the ticket sales and goods work, but we also gain finance from charitable work and donations.
How nice.
The landlord murmured with little interest. He didn't seem to be caring to the railway itself much, but what it was running upon.
And this is our line's maintenance diesel, Frank.
And how many of these toy trains have you got?
It was lucky for them all that Frank was asleep and didn't hear a thing.
How shrewd! For a first impression, this landlord is making a very bad image for himself.
We have 7 in total. Our 4 main steam engines are Mike, Rex, Bert and Jock. Then we have 3 diesels, Frank, Blister 1 and Blister 2.
Now there's a name for a train engine. Blister. These rocks are giving me one just standing on them.
Well, that's our well-renowned ballast. It's one of the only kinds in the world that doesn't allow weeds to grow through it. Our railway is responsible for ferrying it from the mines to...
Do you earn a lot of income from that trade?
Well, most of the money from that contract is needed to maintain the railway infrastructure and the rolling stock fleet, so not too much profit, I'm afraid.
The landlord sighed and noticed something on his phone.
Look, mister, you have a nice train set going here, I will say, but for the past 4 months you've been handing in your rent for the land past the due date. Now why is that, huh?
Well, sir, we've been short of funds these last few months after we invested in our new improved ballast chute over there. We've been meaning to buy the land from you ourselves, but...
But instead, you buy into an expensive child hobby and don't get enough out to pay for it.
The controller wasn't expecting this at all, but the landlord carried on nevertheless.
I'll be honest, this is not how I intended my land to be used. If the rent is handed in late for the next 3 months, I'll end our agreement. Got it?
Yes, sir, I understand. If you'd like to catch the next train, sir, it'll be leaving in 2 minutes, sir.
The small controller gulped as the landlord dug his heels into the ballast and turned for the train. Then he followed him to the platform, where Mike was seething with high-pressured steam and rage.
He's got some cheek to speak like that. Train set indeed. I'd like to show him a piece of my mind, let me tell you.
Now, Mike, I'm afraid I'm not going to let you do that, as much as I agree. What I need you to be is the nice and friendly steam engine that you usually aren't whenever this figure is around. He's quite the character. Just take him up the line now and prove to him what a lovely line it is too.
The guard gave the signal, and Mike smoked away with another full train. But try as he might, he just couldn't stop thinking about what the landlord had said about the railway, in which he cherished so much. Mike was a grumpy engine in general, but the driver noticed that today he was more enraged than ever. Eruptions of black smoke poured from his funnel, and no sooner had the landlord put down his phone to look outside, when a flick of soot struck him straight in the eye. He spent the rest of the journey struggling to get it out, and completely missed the scenic views that the railway had to offer. He got off at Marswaite, where Bert was waiting in the loop to ship a train of loaded ballast hoppers down to the main station. Mike hissed steam furiously as he strolled over the crossing and clambered onto the workman's coach on Bert's train.
Good riddance!
They set off on the down journey back to Arlesburg. Unlike other railways, the trucks on the Arlesdale Railway were the best behaved and rolled along quite contentedly as Bert hurried over the River Arle. However, unlike other trucks again, ballast trucks on the Arlesdale Railway have a special door on the bottom to allow minerals to flow out and into the larger wagons on the main line. It wasn't Bert's fault, but today one of these doors wasn't secured properly. One of the workmen had not shut it safely, and as the train rattled over a bad piece of track, the entire door jolted open. Ballast was dragged out of the truck and tipped all over the line. It landed on the rails and hit the wheels on the still moving trucks. Before anybody knew what had happened, the last 5 trucks, as well as the workman's coach, were knocked off the track and came to a screeching stop, bruised, battered and broken amongst a pile of crushed ballast.
What on earth just happened? Hold on, when did he get on my train?
Out from the wreckage clambered the landlord. In his mind he was in a critical state, and was lucky to survive. He was dirty, dusty, and needed several stitches to a tear in his tailor-made waistcoat.
I am so sorry, sir. I had no idea this was gonna happen. Are you alright?
Alright? I've just been part of a huge train crash. How could I possibly be alright?
I just meant, are you hurt, sir? You seem fine to me.
Fine? I'm not made of metal like you, kid. I'm lucky to be alive right now. You could have killed me. I want to get back to the main station right now. I think I need another word with your manager.
I'm afraid there's roadworks as far as Bridge Street, and I don't think it's likely we can get a train past here for the next few hours, sir.
Great. Just my luck on this darn toy railroad.
As soon as the small controller found out about the incident, he cancelled all trains and sent Jock up to the rescue with the repair team.
Cheer up, Bert. This can't have been your fault. Accidents happen, mate, and sometimes there's nothing you can do to prevent or know of them. Manager is calling for a road crane to help put the trucks back on the track, but you've got to stay here and take them away.
Thanks, Jock. I don't think I'd really like to be running for the rest of the day with this person here. Good luck taking him back to the station. Huh, you'll need it.
Jock bounced along the line back to the main station and stoked the courage to have a word with the landlord on the way back.
You've got to be careful, mister. Telling Bert that accident was his fault? For all I know, it could have been you.
Say what now? I did no such thing. You've got some cheek talking to your landlord like that.
Jock was the youngest of the Arlesdale engines, only built in 1976, and often jumped conclusions far too quickly than he should. He was only trying to defend his friend Bert, but he had no idea what he was getting himself into.
Landlord? You don't look much like a lord if I ever did see one. Especially going and pulling a stunt like that. You should be ashamed of yourself.
You stupid engine. I don't think you know well enough who I am. You wait until I tell your controller about this. How dare you insult me like that?
Pfft, cold threats. What's the worst you could do?
Unfortunately, he did tell the small controller, who nearly fainted when he heard the news. That evening, he stood in front of his engine fleet and had a long, stern word with them all.
I am not pleased with what has gone on today, to say the least. I understand that none of you knew how important this man is to us, but no matter how important he is, should at bare minimal be treated like any other passenger. To hear that you are throwing insults out of your funnel, Jock, does not please me at all. Even Mike and Bert manage to keep level-headed, yet you go off and try and solve something that has nothing to do with you. As punishment, you'll be shut up in the shed until I say so, or I somehow forget this day ever happened.
Whilst this be going on, Rex sat quietly and contently in the middle berth.
Sir, why is this landlord here anyway? I thought the Fat Controller and the owner owned the railway.
I'm afraid that the Northwestern and Skarloey Railway only owned shares in the Arlesdale Railway as a business, but not the land itself. That belonged to a mining company that was keen for the railway to operate on it. As you remember, a few years ago, the mining company was in desperate times and sold the share of the land to an American tycoon, our current landlord. This is the first time he's visited the railway, and I'm afraid to say he didn't have a good impression of us.
Does that mean that he can get rid of the line then, since he owns the land?
Unfortunately, the short answer is yes. That's why I was so frantic that we proved how useful we were to both the mines and as a tourist attraction today.
The sheds fell silent in disbelief. Surely the line couldn't close. That would mean taking up every rail, every sleeper, until the place was clear and ready to be built on again. The engines knew now how important this landlord really was, and that in order to save their home, they'd have to treat him as if he were a king of the railway.